Hello everyone. My first in-depth subject, professional speaker John Eckloff, is a gift that keeps on giving in the realm of interesting events and people. After doing my videos on Mr. Eckloff and wanting to keep up with him, I subscribed to his Twitter, and I noticed a mystery hashtag on his page, BoomEXP2016. The hashtag page told me nothing in particular, so after 30 seconds of Googling, I found out what it was. Boom Experience 2016. And what is the Boom Experience? It is an event sponsored and promoted by the Bellevue School District in Washington State and hosted on the campus of Bellevue College, a local community college. And it is described more specifically as an all-day event designed to support Black, Latinx, and Native American male students. It will teach students, grades 7 through 12, about racial identity, privilege, leadership, and how to break out of the margins. Just to reiterate, this is exclusively for Black, Latino, and Native American males. Now, this year's event is still over a month away as of this recording, and I do hope that John Eckloff ends up speaking there and a video is made of his participation. But until then, I have only the material that came about from the Boom event of last year in December of 2015, specifically a video of the keynote speaker at that event, who will be the primary subject of this series. And that is Dr. Michael Benitez Jr. While I will be looking specifically at the available portion of his keynote speech at the Boom event last year, he more clearly describes his position and responsibilities in a different speech given just this past October, a speech I will cover later in this series.
I am, as was already highlighted, the Chief Diversity Officer and the Dean of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of Puget Sound. I'm also the Title IX Officer, which means that I stay really, really busy.
Now, he says he is the Title IX Officer, which is very interesting. For our collective reference, Title IX is a part of the United States Educational Amendments of 1972, and it states in part, "No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance." And in a similar fashion, Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act prohibits discrimination based on race by entities that accept federal money. So this is an event sponsored and promoted by a public school district and hosted at the facilities of a nearby community college. Both the school district and the community college receive federal financial assistance. So, is the Boom Experience, as outlined, actually legal in the first place? I sent this question directly to the Bellevue School District's Diversity Department. After 2 days and not receiving a response, I passed the question up the chain to the superintendent's office. As of this recording, I have yet to receive any response at all. If there is something about this event that creates an exception to the law, I am certainly curious to know what it is, because if so, it would seem that Title IX and Title VI are easily circumvented by public institutions. Now, all that aside, let us take a look at a portion of Dr. Benitez's keynote speech. Now, I must preamble that this was shot by someone with their phone, so both the audio and visual quality is fairly poor. As well, the video available unfortunately does not showcase the entire speech, but only the first few minutes. And with all that being said, let us see what the Dean of Diversity at a private state college is teaching grade schoolers.
People, what up? What up?
Yeah, what up, yo?
Wow, it's a pleasure. I appreciate the intro. Damn, it's really good to be here, to be in a room full of Black and brown, folks. It normally doesn't happen unless you're in certain parts of the country.
This, of course, begs the question, how uncomfortable do you feel when in a room full of people who do not resemble your skin tone?
So I'm going to introduce myself real quick. I'm going to call you out if you think you're hard. I am from Washington Heights, Spanish Harlem, pre-gentrification.
As a quick aside, notice that when he says he is going to introduce himself, he does not begin with his name or his profession, but instead relates a litany of things that define his identity, arbitrary factors of racial heritage and geography.
I lived in different places. I lived in PA. I lived in Iowa. I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm an Afro-Taino Boricua. So I do want to acknowledge first and foremost the land we stand on, the native land that we stand on. And I also want y'all, males here, I want to share something before I start real quick. If it wasn't for women of color, historically and today, we would not be nowhere near where we are.
Ah, yes, the women of color. The women of color that are specifically excluded from attending this event.
And I'm a Scorpio. Let me tell you why I like to keep it real. So my name is Mike B.
Yo, Mike B, what up, boy?
What do? I am the Chief Diversity Officer and Dean of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington. Which is crazy, given where I came from. So crazy that when I finished school and I went back to my crib, I was telling my homies that I was done, they didn't even know what I was doing. They was like, yo, Mike, we just heard you got out the state pen. I'm like, what? No, I went to Penn State.
Yeah, that's really funny. I mean, wait a second. Are you making a joke out of racial stereotypes? What's wrong with you? Nah, I'm just kidding. It was okay.
I did 4 years at Penn State, man. I ain't trying to the state pen, right? But that, I want to address that because I think that's part of that confusion at times, right, that we hold today. Even as I hear us talk, as I hear us chill, as I hear the way that we think about things and discourse and writing and the way we think about life. So I have one thing I'm going to do with you so you can see how crazy it is. So you can see how real and internalized the issues are.
For those of you keeping score at home, we have just touched upon internalized racism in an indirect fashion. Let's see how many more of these we can check off as we proceed.
Alright?
I'm
going to probe one statement. Alright? I'm going to probe one statement. And I want y'all to finish that statement for me because it's that real. Now, sometimes I did really dope in school. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I was a hardhead and I thought like I was mad G and mad hard. I would just lounge up in my seat like, yo, what this got to do with me?
I really have to wonder whether he understood just how much of a stereotype he was making himself sound like during this talk.
And sometimes I paid attention, particularly when the teachers were dope, had something to say and were able to break things down and relate and connect to me. Right? But then sometimes I got straight A's. And like folks can't see that, from people where I'm from. So whenever I used to get straight A's, I used to get mad happy. Like I go back to my community, back to my hell, like, yo, I just pulled a 4.0, made honor roll, went on the platform, picked up that award that said 4.0, and then my homies came at me and said, you are trying to be, y'all finish that for me. Think about that.
For those of you who did not hear him, and due to the quality of the audio I wouldn't blame you, the answer he was looking for from the students was, you're trying to be white. Of course, the reasonable question to ask Mr. Benitez would be, why did your community so disparage academic achievement? And having grown up in such an environment, how were you able to avoid having that attitude?
Think about how many of y'all resonated with that statement. So I am going to address what does it mean to be a person of color, unfortunately, in a foundation and a nation that is based on white supremacy.
And thus we arrive at white supremacy. So remember, kids, you are inherently disadvantaged because of what you look like, and white people all have it better than you based solely on what they look like. Never mind that this country twice elected a black president, white people are working against your interests by default.
So here I am, this cat, right? I'm growing up. Every time I do good, I'm told you're trying to be this. But what does that sound when you flip it? Right? What does it sound if I got straight A's and somebody came at me and was like, what? You got straight A's, man? Why are you trying to be black? Why are you trying to be brown? Right? Because the concept of intellectualism is a human thing. It doesn't belong to anyone. But as youth, and in particular communities, we're taught that that's not part of our mantra, that's not part of who we are, and we got to break out of that.
Dr. Benitez, why are you assuming all of these kids think or feel that way? Why are you assuming they disparage academic achievement the same way your community did? How are you so sure that these kids are so unlike you were and aren't making healthy and independent choices for themselves? Breaking people down, telling them that the world doesn't think they're good enough, and offering them an answer by which they can cure themselves of the poison society has instilled within them. Sounds a bit like a cult, doesn't it?
We got to break out of this pieces that tell us that we got to act and engage in certain ways when all we really need to do is be us.
This, coming from a man who is speaking to these kids in the fashion of a stereotypical Latino gangbanger. If you're meaning to set a good example, if you intend to show these kids how one of their own can break out of the margins, you have done a shockingly bad job of it so far.
Now here I am. 2 years ago, I was the youngest chief diversity officer in higher education in the nation, right? And I had to, rely on people to tell me, own it, own it, own it. It's okay to be brilliant. Only y'all in this room are mad brilliant, so own that.
Yes, all of you in this room are brilliant, just not brilliant enough to understand that your skin color does not, by default, lessen your value in the eyes of society. No, I am here to rid you of that problem that I tell you that you have.
Don't cut yourself short because folks are telling you or you think there's a certain way to be cool, when you don't need to.
Objection! Assuming facts not in evidence, Your Honor.
So I've prided myself in deconstructing language.
Oh yes, I'm sure you're the type who could read between the lines of a cookbook.
Right, so like terms like minority, for example. Right? I'm not a fan of that term, but I tell you what, are we a minoritized people? Yeah, we are. That means that we are born as human beings, and over the course of the period, we are minoritized in spaces. We are marginalized, hence, boom, to break out the margins means to get out the system that often minoritizes, marginalizes, oppresses us through different methods that they don't even know, like high school books.
Remember, kids, when I send you back to your schools after this activity is over, remember not to trust anyone there. They are all trying to oppress you.
So I was that one cat who took it a step farther. So what I did is I was like, the teacher wants to hear, so I'm going to give the teacher these answers. A, D, all of the above. And then I would write this red line all the way across to the right side, and I would say, but this is the real answer. Well, here's the answer that you want to hear.
Yes, I can certainly envision you being the smartass of the class, but aren't you kind of undervaluing the entire educational basis of your academic achievements and high GPA that you were touting to your friends just a few minutes ago?
But I still needed to show that there's an integrity and an honesty and a part of my life that has not been acknowledged in these history books, or even in the way that teaching is engaged. Right? And so I wanna bring those up because they're important. Y'all are provided this opportunity today and in school, but it's up to y'all to carve that space. Y'all don't have to let others define that space for y'all. Y'all can define that space for yourselves on your own.
The video continues for another minute or so, but cuts off abruptly, and context is fairly lost as to where he was taking his next few points. A link to the full video is below if you would like to review the remainder. And thus ends part 1 of my look at Dr. Michael Benitez. In the next pair of videos, I will be sampling portions of his speech from October. I look forward to showing you his arguments and pattern of speech when operating before a more mature audience. Until then, thank you for watching.